What up, what up? Welcome on in to Inside Baylor Sports, the official daily podcast of Baylor Athletics. On today's show, we're recapping Baylor men's golf season and their run in the national championships. Plus, we discuss the West Prelims for Baylor track and field. Follow Baylor Plus today on X, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. It's the official content network of Baylor Athletics. Think Netflix for your Baylor Bears. Download the app on your mobile device and sign up for your free 7-day trial today at BaylorPlus.com. It's Wednesday, May 29th, 2024. Justin Hoff alongside the Baylor Bear insider, Jerry Hill. Jerry, almost to the end of May. You know what that means? A few sports wrapped up their season. One of those being Baylor men's golf. But, man, what a season it was for them late. Finished 14th in the country. No shame in finishing top 15. 14th out in California.
Yeah, Justin, if you look at kind of where they started this year and even into the spring, I mean, I think it was the Prestige in February where they were like 18th out of 23 teams. And look where they finished, in the top 15. Man, what a finish they had. They played really well at the Big 12, obviously well at the Chapel Hill Regional. And then just to make that cut into the final round, like you said, great year. I know they wanted to, take that next step and get to match play. But hats off to Coach McGraw and the rest of this team. They did an amazing job here at the end of the season.
Yeah, and never easy to go top 15. I mean, a top 15 finish in any sport is tremendous. And so one of the better finishes for any sport this season here at Baylor Athletics. Of course, you think about some of the teams, a couple Sweet 16s and regionals gets kind of funky with super regionals. They call them kind of tied for ninth and things like that, but essentially being one of, 16 remainder teams. And so for men's golf to finish 14th, that's a high honor and not something that's easily attainable. In order to get there, Jerry, you have to have, a great coach, which we definitely do, but you also have to have a lead golfer. And that's something we definitely had in Johnny Kiefer. And so I did some research. Obviously, Kyle Jones and Cooper Dawsey doing some work. Kyle's been in and out of the PGA Tour. But the next member of the PGA Tour, I'm going to go out on a limb here, is Johnny Kiefer, okay? He looks like one. A lot of times, those golfers, sometimes you got a certain height to them, a certain size to them. And Johnny's in that 6-foot variety. They got to be able to drive the ball. If you're not able to drive the ball at the PGA Tour level, you're going to be way behind because of how big those courses are. And so Johnny Kiefer, I can see him being the future PGA Tour member and someone that's around, almost like a Jimmy Walker. I'm sure he would love to be like Jimmy Walker, right? Jimmy's had a great career and won a major. So Johnny, though, had a great season, his 5th year at Baylor, and I'm looking forward to bigger things when he hits the Pro Tour.
Yeah, and I think he's got that shot because, I think one of the things that you have to do on the tour is score low. Like you don't have to every round, but you need to be able to shoot low. And Johnny is. Like he has that ability to really go low, like shooting the 60s and even in the low 60s. So I think that gives him a chance. And you mentioned Jimmy Walker. Well, that's who Johnny Kiefer just beat for the career stroke average record at Baylor. Johnny set it at 71.45. Jimmy had held it for over 20 years at 71.55. So amazing accomplishment in itself when you think about it. I mean, Jimmy had a great career at Baylor. He never made it to the NCAA championship. Like this round, he never made it this far. He was in 4 straight regionals, but never made it to the NCAA championship. So Johnny has him obviously on that. But just, an amazing season, an amazing career for Johnny, tied for 11th. At the NCAA championships, highest ever finish for a Baylor golfer. And just, I'm not saying he carried this team or put them on their back or anything, but like you said, you have to have an anchor, a number one golfer like that to have any chance, to do what this team did, to make it to that final 15, to have a shot at match play. You have to have a really good number one. And obviously he was a number one for 5 years. So yeah, he'll go down as arguably Baylor's best ever player. And certainly he showed it this year with, leading this team to the final 15 of the NCAA championships.
High honors there. High honors. And right now, you look at Kyle Jones and also Cooper Dawsey. They're both in the Corn Ferry Tour, which is really AAA. They've been up and down. Both Cooper's been in one PGA Tour event. Kyle Jones had almost 20 events, I think, a few years ago. So it's really in the mix there on the PGA Tour. And you don't always want to say, someone looks like a PGA Tour golfer, but that can be the case with Johnny Kiefer. You just have to have that look. I've been to several tournaments. I've covered some. And there's just a certain look that you have. And once again, I think some of that has to do with height, right? And so being 6 foot tall, out there, being able to drive the ball 275, 300 yards on some of these courses, Jerry, that's a must. I mean, if you're going to win the tournament, you got to be able to drive the ball. And Johnny's got the strength. And I think over the next couple of years, when he commits to golf being 100% of his job, he's going to get even stronger and going to get even better. And can be one of those names that you see on Sundays representing, whatever sponsor out there, but knowing that he's a Baylor Bear.
Yeah, and I think he does have that shot. I was thinking when you were talking about height and things like that, Kyle Jones doesn't have the height, but he's got, the size and everything, and he can really drive it a long distance. So he kind of makes up for it with just strength. Kyle is very strong, and he's got a chance, I think, at some point to kind of break through. It took Jimmy Walker quite a long time to really break through on the PGA Tour. Of course, he's won a major as a PGA Championship winner. So, Jimmy has had, I would say, by far the best PGA career to date. But yeah, I think Johnny's got that ability. Certainly it takes a strong mental game as well. And I think Johnny has shown that he has that. So yeah, I think he's got everything it takes, and it'll be fun to follow him, Justin. I can't say that I, follow golf every weekend, but I think I would watch it a little bit more if I see Johnny Kiefer out there on the weekends.
Yeah, it's funny for me. I'll be honest with you, Jerry. So back in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, right in that area, I was, a teenager, right? I'm 36 now, so 20 years ago. And I was really into golf. This was the heyday of Tiger Woods. Like, I watched it all the time. Like, I love me some Tiger Woods. I loved golf. And of course, golf, I would think was more popular there as far as TV ratings and things like that. I don't check those ratings on the golf side. I don't really watch it that much anymore. And I also watched a ton of baseball, like every single game. And I don't watch a ton of baseball now either, right? In the playoffs, I do. But that's about it. My sports have changed a little bit. And of course, I do have, kids and trying to stay married too. But all at the same time, it's not easy. You can't watch all those events and do all that. But yeah, I used to really be into that. And those are sports that tend to, trend towards an older individual, which is funny because I was a teenager and I watched more of those sports then than I do now. There might be something wrong with me, but I think you've already said that before.
Yeah, no question. I don't even know that that's even up for debate, that you are, I don't even know what the word is, Justin, but yeah, I was probably a bigger baseball fan growing up than I am right now. Although obviously, with the Rangers winning it all last year, I really got into that run since I grew up in Arlington and grew up as a Rangers fan. So I really got into it last year. But just in general, I don't follow it as much as I did, way back when. Like I was a Dr. Pepper Jr. Ranger, proud card-carrying member of the Dr. Pepper Jr. Rangers. So, but yeah, I like the game. I like I like watching baseball probably more than just about anything else. But yeah, as far as TV stuff, I like I said, I don't follow a lot of golf on TV. But again, I might do it a little bit more. My brother is a huge golf fan. He likes all sports, but he really got into watching Baylor softball this past weekend. Like, I don't know that he had watched hardly any of that before, but he really got into watching them, in that Florida Super Regional. So yeah, it's all good.
Unique is what you can say about me. But
Right.
yeah, in the playoffs, that's when a lot of people latch on, right?
Yeah.
It's do or die. It's win or go home time. That's a time for a casual fan. So I'd say, that's what you're speaking of this past weekend. If you watch Baylor softball, you didn't watch them all season, but you watch them this weekend. That's a casual fan. Hardcore would be every single day or making it out to the ballpark, and there's nothing wrong with either one of them. It's just a separation between, your fandom and how much you want to put into it, right? Your effort. And yeah, for me, it's NFL. Watch a lot of the NFL, college football, college basketball, NASCAR, which you knew that. Big into speed, love to drive fast, and grew up around a racetrack. And then I love the NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, but not a lot else from that. I mean, and obviously any Baylor sports, but that's pretty much it for me.
For some reason, I thought you were a huge F1 fan. Just kidding. Just kidding. I know you're all about NASCAR, not Formula One.
We don't like parades.
I think we need to get you into a debate with some Formula One people that I know.
We have a few, yeah. Those are parades, and why I say parade is because you can't pass. Okay, yes, you're supposed to be able to pass, but you never passed. And go ahead and look at Monaco this past weekend. But I'll say this much: it's a good transition about TV and what's on TV. The Olympics and track and field. I love watching the sprinters. Love watching that. It's my favorite piece. More so than basketball. I love when they get out there, the hurdles, really the stuff on the actual track is what I like. And looking forward to our team competing. We'll have opportunity for some former Baylor Bears to be out there in that. But certainly right now, this team is competing. The current Baylor Bears. West Prelims this past weekend, Jerry, sending a lot out to nationals in Eugene here in a couple weeks.
Yeah, and it's not maybe a large contingent as some of that they've had, in the past. But here's what they have, Justin, is they have a few that could win a national championship. That's how good they are in their particular event. When you think about Zaza in the javelin, and you think about Ezekiel in the 400 hurdles, and even Alexis Brown in the long jump, those are ones that you could actually see winning a national championship. And man, that women's 4x1, that was fun to watch. Winning it in a school record 42.66. Again, winning the NCAA West Prelims doesn't really get you anything. It will get them a better lane assignment in the semifinals at Eugene. But man, it was just fun to watch them. Great for them. And the funny thing is, and they were all close, but none of those, other than Alexis in the long jump, made the semifinals in one of the individual events, like the 100, the 200, the 400. They didn't make it in those, but to me, that's going to help them, honestly, in the 4x1 relay, because particularly if they make it out of the semifinals to the final, they're going to be fresher than any other team in that final, because all the other ones, they're going to be in all these individual events. And the only one that's doing that for the women's side is Alexis Brown in the long jump. So of those, of the other ones in the relay, they're going to be really fresh. And I think they could really make some noise in that final in the 4x1 relay at Eugene. The other one on the women's side, other than Alexis Brown in the long jump, is Molly Haywood in the pole vault. Congratulations to her making it as a freshman. Alicia Lentz was having some issues with back pain or strain there, so she didn't make it out of that round. But Molly did make it to the semifinal or to the final site at Eugene. So she's one of 24 vaulters that'll be going there at Eugene.
Yeah, and always fun this time of the year. And just like, you mentioned with softball, this is where you catch that casual fan, right? And so really want to tune in. The ESPN family of networks, it begins next week. The team will depart sometime either this weekend or early next week to get out to Eugene, Oregon. It's not an easy trip. I don't care where you're coming from to get out to Eugene, Oregon. I mean, you're basically going to Canada. Okay. I mean, it's far out there. I've been on this trip a couple times for a few different sports. And I think the last time I did it, you had to go to like Phoenix or San Francisco and then make your way up to Eugene. So it's not a lot of direct flights, into Portland and things like that. So it can be a challenge to get out there to the Pacific Northwest, but we know how big track and field is out there. It's really the home of a lot of it. And they have great facilities at Oregon. And you see a lot of the U.S. National qualifying out there and things like that. So you're talking about pristine competition and just really a great way for Baylor athletics to finish out the season. Just two sports left. That's the men's And the women's outdoor track and field teams, they're out there by themselves. These are the only two teams competing right now for Baylor athletics, Jerry.
Well, and softball obviously was close. One hit, one big bomb away from possibly making the Women's College World Series, but, had a great finish, great season for them. But yeah, you're right. This is it. These are the last two, and the men have a really good contingent going with 7 entries on that side. And I'm excited, Justin. This is always, I'm more of a track guy than probably most riders. I really enjoy track meets. I love there's just so many things going on, and I really enjoy track, and I enjoy track and field, both of those. Can we say that we have 4 events, 4 teams still going? Can we say track and field? I don't know, but anyway,
I don't think so. I don't think so.
You don't think so? Because they actually both do have track and field going to Eugene. So anyway, the men's side, the 4x1 and the 4x4 relay. 4x4 relay initially was knocked out, but Nebraska in their heat was disqualified. Baylor took the automatic number 3 spot, and they advanced. So both in the 4x1 and the 4x4 relay, and then they've got Demontre Callis in both the 100 and the 200, Lorenz Colbert in the 200, and then Nathaniel Ezekiel in the 400 hurdles. And like I mentioned earlier, Zaza in the javelin. So good contingent of men going. And like I said, I think they've got a chance to not only medal, but possibly win a national championship in one of those events. So I think it'll be a great weekend or a great week. It'll be fun and a good, like you said, good way to end this Baylor athletics season. Again, in the Eugene NCAA championships in Eugene at Tracktown, USA, Hayward Field. And this is one place. And there's places like that have a dynamic fan base, that they really get into whatever sport that is. Obviously in Omaha, you have baseball, Oklahoma City, softball. But man, these fans, they know track, and they are so good, so alert. I mean, you'll see if Zaza puts a big throw out there, they'll recognize that. They notice it before the mark is even up on the board. They see it and they recognize it. And man, they are really appreciative fans there in Eugene, Oregon.
Yeah, it's almost like Kentucky Derby, horse racing in Kentucky, and racing like the Indy 500 in Indianapolis and Indiana, that state, or even basketball, Hoosiers and all that stuff. For track, you're going out to Eugene. I mean, that's why I call it Tracktown, USA. So really impressive. So if you're a track, a star or a kid, that's where you want to get to. If you love watching track, I'm sure it's on your bucket list, or you maybe have already been out there to Eugene, but a lot of running out there. And I'm sure the weather is going to be better. No one really wants to run if it's 105 degrees outside. The other day on Monday, Jerry, I'm trying to get some lawn work done here in Waco, Texas. And it felt like 108, but I do like the warmth. I just don't love working in the warmth. I used to work for a city back in Michigan, city job, city worker. You mow lawns, you do all the stuff around the city, pick up trash, parks. You get the gamut. That is not bad work. It's okay. It's good as like a high school or college student. But I wouldn't want to do that work if it's 110 degrees out. So I certainly wouldn't want to run in 110 degree weather. And thankfully, it will not be that warm in Eugene.
And I know one of the things when you were talking about weather and this and that, Coach Todd Harbor, that was the head track coach for a while and was on staff for a good long while, also ran at Baylor, All-American and all that. Every year he went up there, his allergies just were off the charts. Like he dreaded it because of just the allergies, because he knew as soon as he hit Eugene, as soon as he hit Oregon, those allergies were going to flare up. And I've been up there before too. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the trees or what it is specifically, but man, your allergies, you do get very high on allergies. So you gotta kind of fight through that. But you're right. Hopefully they'll deal with a lot better weather. Sometimes they get, rain showers and things like that, but hopefully no bad weather, that they'll just, have a good 4 days there and finish out the year on a high note.
Yeah, it's going to rain. I looked at the forecast here. Upper 70s, low 80s. So much better running temperature. Maybe they'd like that. Maybe upper 60s, low 70s, but definitely rain. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. It's Pacific Northwest. Okay, as much as the jokers about Oregon and Washington and Seattle and Portland, we'd like to say you bring an umbrella and it's going to mist all the time. It does do that 75% of the year. That's why there's that stereotype out there. And so they're going to probably hit some of that. I got an uncle that lives out in Portland, Oregon, and he's always saying it's raining out there. His grass is always green. He doesn't have the same grass issues that we have in the summer when it's burnt up. But yeah, it's going to be fun to watch this weekend. Going into next week, next week, the ESPN family of networks will be watching for sure there. Hey, Jerry, I know there was some news dropped yesterday. We'll talk more about this on Friday, but did you at least watch the video until the end? That's the question everybody wants to know. Did you follow the instructions from the show?
All 55 seconds. I watched it to the very end. I will say I didn't recognize until somebody else had mentioned it or tweeted it or whatever that there was a fourth uniform. So I guess I missed that part of it. But I went back and watched it. But yeah, I was impressed. I mean, we've talked about it, off air a little bit, and I really enjoyed the uniforms. I really love the white. I think it's just a real clean look. But the striping on the shoulders, that to me really pops. And so it was good. I mean, like we talked about before, I'm not a big uni guy, but those were good. I loved the look of the uniforms.
Okay, well, we'll talk about this on Friday. We're going to break them all down. We'll talk through them and looking forward to kind of following the comments this week. Once again, divisive topic. Not everybody's going to like them, and that's okay. But the great thing is there's good engagement out there. A lot of people talking about Baylor football right now, so that's a win for everyone involved. So looking forward to what's to come for the remainder of the week. That'll do it for today's edition of Inside Baylor Sports, a Sport and Story production. Thanks for listening. For Jerry Hill, I'm Justin Hoff. Have a great Wednesday, and Sic 'em Bears.
Bears.